Warning, the review you are about to watch will contain spoilers wherever necessary for educational or entertaining purposes. Click away now if you don't wish to be spoiled.
Hello friends, my name is the Dyslexic Cosplayer, and it's time for us to take a look at Blake 7. Today we're looking at Episode 2, Spacefall. And oh boy, this episode is really kind of surprising. It almost feels like two separate episodes that were mashed together, and that certainly is how it appears in my memory. But at any rate, let's get into it and you can see what I'm talking about. We're introduced to the Federation ship London and her crew, one of which is Lieutenant Commander William Raker, and he is scum. Don't believe me? Here's an example.
Sir?
There's a female prisoner on our manifest.
I'd noticed that, sir.
Yes, well, be discreet.
Or maybe the Federation just doesn't have sexual discrimination laws. After William Raker gives the "you are scum and don't give me a reason to kill you" speech, we get to see just how minuscule his little ego is. Well, what is it we have here? Another troublemaker? I didn't hear an order. You didn't hear an order, sir. Say it! I didn't hear an order, sir. After that almost presidential display of incompetence, we get to see how much more incompetent Raker is as he completely fails to impress Jenna with his tiny hand energy. But don't worry, it's not all Harvey Weinstein's private plane in space up here, because we get introduced to the greatest character in the series, Karen Avon, who makes it very clear that Blake won't stand a chance of taking over the ship without his assistance, since someone has to override the ship's computer. Which should be easy to manage as the crew are distracted by what first appears to be a meteorite shower, but soon becomes clear is a space battle between unknown enemy forces. And they're being rocked by the explosions of the fight going on outside. We also discovered that the 25th century equivalent of Fix-A-Flat looks suspiciously like shaving cream, but is actually a chemical compound that hardens in a matter of seconds. Though if that's the case, maybe get that off your fingers, Jenna? That's just a thought? Between the explosions going on outside and everyone else's help, Avon is able to sneak his way through the bulkhead into master control where the central computer is housed. And unfortunately, due to some micrometeors, space is a dangerous place, everybody, don't forget. One of Blake's co-conspirators that goes to check on Avon ends up being killed by, well, shaving cream. Just remember, everyone, a hero is someone that gets other people killed. Thanks to Avon's machinations with the controls, each and every door on the ship ends up being opened, allowing the prisoners to roam freely anywhere they want. Though that was also thanks to the machinations of another series mainstay, Oleg Gan, who makes it very clear to the security guard they don't need his hand to remain attached to use it to open the doors. Gan is kind of terrifying, but really more of a gentle giant as we see later on. In an armed standoff, Blake and Jenna end up holding up with Avon where they discuss their plan. Personally, I'd recommend making a plan before this point, but at any rate, Avon just wants to get rich and get off the ship. Blake wants to somehow steal the ship and lead a revolution against the Federation, because Blake is an idealistic idiot. However, the conversation is made moot by the fact that the captain's unwilling to negotiate with terrorists and William Raker has no morals. So he begins killing the prisoners that they've managed to capture. So Blake, being the idealist devoid of any sound judgment, orders Avon to let them in, giving up on his little rebellion. Though not before Raker gets in one more dose of homicide just for fun.
Despite my little outburst earlier, I never actually wanted to hurt any of you.
You just killed a guy like 2 minutes ago for mildly sassing you.
Fortunately, Blake, Jenna, and Avon are seen as the ringleaders, and rather than being thrown out into space, are just sentenced to solitary confinement. Avon has the best dialogue in the series, and you'll see why soon.
For a while, I really thought we'd made it.
It was my fault.
We know. We had one chance. You wasted it. There won't be a next time.
Fortunately, we know better, since otherwise there wouldn't be a series. Once they get the ship back up and running again after Avon's machinations, they end up discovering a piece of debris left over from the firefight that went on outside. Well, it's less a piece of debris and more a spaceship, built by a highly advanced alien race. You can tell because it has aesthetics. Their plan is to try and salvage the ship for all of its technological value, but the first couple of boarding parties don't do so well. Though if I had the opportunity to strangle Raker, I would probably do the same if given the chance. So Raker, in a fit of pique and a desire for all that money, insists that perhaps they should start using prisoners, since no one will care if they die. So of course he sends Avon, Blake, and Jenna across first. Finding the flight deck, they discover that the ship has an automatic defense system against looting. Some sort of psychic defense screen that projects images into your mind designed to lure you to a point where it can kill you. Though thankfully, because Blake has had his brain screwed with enough times, he's unaffected and is able to destroy it before it kills his companions. Thanks to Jenna being an ace pilot, they're able to get the ship moving, which allows them to escape before Raker is able to follow them across and stop them. And he ends up being sucked out into space, and nothing of value was lost. For a second episode in the series, I think this is pretty much perfect, though there are a few tweaks that I would offer as humble criticism for anyone trying to make this script better. Personally, I think the first half with the mutiny should have been an entire episode all to itself, since it would have given us a great chance to talk about some more world building, get to know some of the characters a little bit more in depth, and really help flesh out this new series as it's beginning. I'd still end the second episode with them finding the ship, but instead maybe have an entire third episode devoted to them exploring it, really build up some tension and gives us an excuse to show off just how cool the ship is. Midpoint, have them steal it, and then we can have the rest of the episode be them trying to learn how to actually make it work, while the rest of the prisoners deal with being abandoned by Blake and the rest of them. And at that point, you could probably make Cygnus Alpha basically just the fourth episode of the series. But I recognize they were probably desperate to try and get everyone caught up on the really cool parts of the show so they could get on with it. The psychic projecting anti-personnel thing makes no sense since it never comes back, and when we learn more about who built the ship, it really doesn't jive with anything that they have in their society. It's just kind of weird. Just a little nitpick, I know. Introducing Avon to the group was a brilliant idea on the part of the writers, since he provides a strong-willed character on par with Blake, but without any of Blake's naivete or idealism. Occasionally maybe not even morals, but that's a whole other discussion. It's a great character archetype called the Lancer, someone that challenges the hero without necessarily being an antagonist, while allowing us to have a lot more insight into each character through their interactions with each other. The Overly Sarcastic Productions YouTube channel has a great series called Trope Talks that goes into a lot more detail on this, and really talks about it as an archetype in depth. I'll include a link so you can go check it out, because it's actually very informative, as well as the rest of their content. Go take a look. Maybe expand your horizons a bit. One last piece of praise I'll give is they do a great job with the characters that we meet of the ship's crew, showing off the different levels of corruption in the Federation that allow it to continue being the totalitarian nightmare it is without just imploding on itself. But yeah, that's basically my review of Episode 2 of Blake 7. I hope you found it informative, educational, and above all else, entertaining. Next up, Episode 3, Cygnus Alpha. What can you expect? Well, contrary to public opinion, you can hear someone scream in space. We find out you should always say yes to drugs, and space cults run by Brian Blessed. I'll hope to see you all next time. Until then, friends. Hey friends, I hope you enjoyed the review almost as much as I enjoyed making it. Now, if you would like to show your support, by all means leave the video a like, maybe a comment. If you want to go really crazy, try hitting that bell icon down below so you can stay informed of all my new content. As you can see, I'm coming out with a bunch of new videos. I'm also going to be hopefully doing more cosplay tutorials. If you'd like to show some more support in a more substantial way, try heading on over to my Patreon or my Facebook. Both will be links down below.